This is the most British book I have ever read in my life. The words that Susanna uses in here to construct her sentences, her dialogue between her characters, are all very formal English. Gentleman's English. And that makes it a very interesting read, but a read that you have to do in your mind as you're reading it with an English accent. At least I had to, for sure. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, or Norrell. Mr. Norrell sounds very American, but Mr. Norrell sounds very English. The gentleman wished to do me great kindness. Her ladyship is quite distressed. Upon the contrary, I'm quite certain that the common view of them is the correct one. Besides, I have known Strange since we were boys, and he is of a most capricious character. I mean, you gotta really hand it to Susanna Clarke here. Her word choice, her prose, her dialogue, it all kind of draws you into that 19th century England state of mind. This book is quite immersive because of the language, but also because Susanna has really incorporated much of the history that happened during this time period, and she's done it really well. She's kind of weaved it in through the story. And in a lot of ways, historical fantasy is a lot tougher to write because you have to kind of adhere and be congruent with all the things that happen in actual history. In high fantasy, you just make it up as you go along and you just add it to the Wikipedia so you don't forget it for later books. This is much tougher, I think, and she has done an impeccable job here. So to go along with this very English book, I'm going to be concocting a very English drink in just a second that is also from a book. But first, what is this book even about? The story, as you might have guessed, revolves around two main characters, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, who are both magicians in 1800s England. In this setting, there are theoretical magicians who just talk about and philosophize about magic, and then there are practical magicians like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell who can actually perform magic. And those two are really the only two that are left in England with such a talent. So they are kind of looked up to by society as people who have this natural ability that nobody else really has. I don't want to talk too much more about these two magicians because I don't want to spoil things, except to say that they have kind of a tenuous relationship. They are really distinct personalities who don't have a lot in common except for this fact that they can do magic. They have totally different ideas on how magic should be applied, about how to disseminate the information of magic, where it should be used, where it should not be used. They kind of bang heads on a lot of things, but in some ways they're the same as well. So they have this up and down relationship throughout the book, which keeps things really, really interesting. Now, for our drink, we are making something that is from an English novelist, Ian Fleming, who wrote 007, James Bond. In the 1953 Ian Fleming release of Casino Royale, which they made a movie about, I think, 10 to 15 years ago, starring Daniel Craig. But in the original, the book from 1953, 007 orders a drink called the Vesper. So I thought, 007, Ian Fleming, what can be more English than this? So we're going to try to recreate the Vesper that James Bond ordered in that book. In an effort to keep this as English as possible, we're going with Beefeater's London Dry Gin, and we're going in with 3 ounces of this. And of course, we're going to shake it, not stir it, because, it's 007. So 3 ounces into the shaker. And then to that, we're going to be adding another clear distilled alcohol in the form of vodka. Yes, 80 proof gin and then 80 proof vodka. 007 is not a wuss. Another 1.5 ounces of vodka going here as well. Now at this point, this is just 100% clear liquid vodka and gin mixed. But there's one more ingredient that's going to go in here which will tone down the drink a little bit and give it some flavor. And speaking of tone, I wanted to talk about the kind of muted down, non-action packed fantasy that this book is. If you're used to reading medieval fantasy with lots of swords and fighting and firebolts flying here and there, you're not going to find that in this book. This book is mainly about the characters and the settings and the plot, and action really kind of takes a back seat. There are snippets of excitement and action in here, but a lot of it is driven by the characters and what they do and their interactions with one another. So it's kind of refreshing to read this book in a world of books that are very, very much in the same vein. I rather enjoyed this change, and I think you might as well. Just give it a chance. It's a little bit slow to start, I'll tell you that up front, but once you get into it, maybe a couple hundred pages, I know it's a lot, but you will, I think, like it and enjoy the characters and enjoy the plot and the setting. The setting is just, the setting is the thing, man. So good. All right, let's finish our drink. So the final ingredient in our drink besides the garnish is a very non-English aperitif called Lillet Blanc in this case, which just means white. And we're just going in with a half a shot of this, or 3/4 of an ounce. We'll pop the lid on and we'll shake it up. All right, now just strain it in here. Then we're just gonna garnish with some lemon peel here. Then we'll just give it a little twist to make the essential oils come out. I kind of like to rub it along the edge here and drop it in. All right, a Vesper. This is one of James Bond's favorite drinks from 1953, Ian Fleming's Casino Royale. Let's check it out. 007 was onto something here. This is actually pretty yummy. I thought it was going to be a lot more harsh because of all the alcohol in it, but that Lillet kind of just settles things down a little bit. Has kind of a wine aftertaste. That's one of the main ingredients in Lillet. So I definitely recommend you guys give this a try. That's different and good. And you know what else is different and good? Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. What a segue. Give this a try if you're in the mood for a different kind of fantasy read. You might surprise yourself. I know I didn't think I would like it, but this 19th century England setting really drew me in and I couldn't put it down. Give it a go and get some Lillet and try this drink also. If it's good enough for 007, it's good enough for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.